Arsenal nearly witnessed a calamity of their amazing winning streak. They even conceded more than 2 goals for the first time this season. Sunderland were the villains in this game, who nearly beat Arsenal. Let us take a look at what exactly transpired in this game. Sunderland being the red and Arsenal being the black, Sunderland approached the game in a 5-4-1 shape. Sunderland initially would press high up and look to force turnovers from Arsenal very early on. However, they were able to realize that their initial lines of press were not as solid as they had hoped, and Arsenal would easily manage to bypass them. As the game progressed, we would then begin to see Sunderland drop deeper into a mid-block, then a low block. This would be a tactical decision from Sunderland, as they would then look to compact the space in their defensive third. How Sunderland would approach their defensive structure would be through a 5-4-1 shape. This shape was well orchestrated, as the idea primarily would be to close off any access to the center of the pitch from Arsenal, making it difficult for the likes of Mikel Merino and Eberechi. Sunderland would then look to have double-ups out wide and create situations where the Arsenal wide players would be outnumbered. This would be orchestrated in a way that would construct situations where if one Sunderland player or two were bypassed, there would be another Sunderland player behind that would cover the space. This was also helped by the fact that Sunderland would constantly move around and close off spaces between their players, making it that much more difficult for Arsenal to get sufficient time and space on the ball whenever they were able to access the 18-yard box of Sunderland. Moving upfield, Sunderland were able to well rotate positions, moving upfield quite well. This would allow them to have sufficient attacking numbers when they would move upfield. The game plan from Sunderland would be to play long balls forward. When Arsenal were upfield, Sunderland would play balls into their direct runners, who would look to carry the ball upfield. Then when Arsenal were deeper, they would then look to play the ball into target men upfield. This was how Sunderland were able to make most of their chances. This was also made more easy for Sunderland because Arsenal would be slow in reacting towards Sunderland's movement, especially when Sunderland were on the transition. But Arsenal were actually playing well in this game and were able to make really good recoveries for the most part. Let us explore how exactly Arsenal approached the game. Arsenal would have the lion's share of possession in this game. Approaching the game in a 4-3-3, Arsenal were able to get a hold of the game quite early on. Building up in a 3-2 shape, Arsenal would have time and space on the ball as Sunderland would sit off from pressing. This allowed Arsenal to build up slowly and look to pick at the Sunderland defense. Arsenal were struggling primarily with attacking the central space because of Sunderland's defensive shape. As mentioned, Sunderland were incredibly robust in this game. Arsenal would have Mikel Merino drop deep to look to find space. This would not work out for Arsenal as they had intended, as now they would lack a target man upfield. So as the game progressed, Mikel Merino would then begin to pin back the two Sunderland centre-backs. Eberechi would also struggle to find space, especially when Sunderland were deep. He would drop deep and link up play for the most part. Arsenal would begin to come to life in the second half as they now began to target the half spaces. They would play really good one-touch passes into these areas for the pitch. Not only this, but they would then also take shots or make direct runs into these areas of the pitch. Sunderland were looking fatigued in the second half, which would then aid Arsenal in their endeavour to score in the game. Late on, Sunderland was able to equalise late on in the game through yet another long ball forward, which did indeed indicate that Arsenal's weak point in this game was their ability to defend long balls forward. Sunderland were able to shake up Arsenal as their long ball approach in the game was able to destabilize Arsenal's defense at times, whilst Arsenal's persistence led to them discovering Sunderland's weakness defensively in the second half and were able to well exploit Arsenal. Final score: Sunderland 2, Arsenal 2.